aa.ie.
Windy tonight with showers and a risk of coastal flooding. Cold with lowest temperatures of 2 to 6 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette. Proud supporters of Movember. Gentlemen, let's mow.
This is News Talk.
Well, there's plenty at stake for Stephen Kenny this evening. First win would be very nice for obvious reasons. First goal obviously would be good. There is still the chance of pot 2 in the World Cup draw. Avoiding relegation from the Nations League Group B would be good as well. Live commentary coming your way, Ireland against Bulgaria. 7:45 kickoff. Nathan Murphy, Stewie Byrne on duty. 53106, the text number. We're at Off the Ball on Twitter. Also, Richie McCormack, good evening to you. It would be a long Christmas for Stephen Kenny and many of the Irish players if tonight didn't go well. So all of these things are in the ether.
Yeah, Bulgaria ravaged as well by COVID-19. Seems obviously we're not the only ones that have suffered at the hands of this virus over the last couple of weeks. They're missing, I think, up to 10 players for tonight's game. So they haven't even managed to field a full list of substitutes for the game. So it's not as if they're rolling in the hay at the minute. We're looking to get something out of this game that, I don't know, it's hard to see where it comes from based on recent performances, but tonight I guess just would be the night where it actually does come together and clicks and finally happens, and we do get that second goal of the Kenny era, and funny enough against the side against which we scored the first.
Nathan Murphy is standing by. We have obviously, Nathan, 16 players, 14 of whom have started for Stephen Kenny already, missing in action this evening. But that means we have debuts, we have competitive starts for the first time. Fill us in.
Yeah, we do. Ryan Manning is making his Republic of Ireland debut at left back tonight, and there are first competitive starts for 19-year-old Jason Knight, and also for Ronan Curtis, who's winning his 6th cap and has been in and around the squad for the last few years, but gets his opportunity from the start in this side that has been ravaged by both injury and COVID, and as you say, 14 players missing from the original 26-man squad. Callum O'Dowda, the latest of them, through injury, picked up a dead leg at the weekend and was ruled out this morning, so he's not in the 23-man squad. It does mean that the likes of Aaron McAneff, Graham Burke, Jack Byrne are all among the substitutes. So too is Troy Parrott, for a game that Stephen Kenny needs to win for many, many reasons. Morale just being one of them. A victory for Ireland tonight, in fact avoiding defeat for Ireland tonight, would mean that they remain in League B for the next Nations League. I know there's debate about whether staying in League B or potentially relegation to League C is beneficial. My reading of it is that staying in League B is far more beneficial, despite the opportunity that might present itself to win games in a few years' time down in League C. And there is still an outside chance that Ireland could potentially still get into pot 2 for next month's World Cup draw. Ireland need to win tonight. They need to hope that Northern Ireland beat Romania and that Serbia beat Russia. If those 3 things happens, which isn't beyond the realms of possibility, then Ireland would be amongst the second seeds. But I think more than anything else, as you said, it's going to be a long Christmas, a long 4 months for Stephen Kenny and his players if this long winless run, if this long goal drought continues. And while I think most reasonable people will look at the amount of players he's been missing, I'd say it's very hard to read into anything that's happening tonight. Even Stephen Kenny himself was saying that in his press conference yesterday, that by and large these players who are starting tonight, most of them aren't fighting for a place in the first 11 for the World Cup qualifiers, as everybody is back fully fit. Most of them are battling for places in the squad and battling to be the guys who come off the bench to make an input, because I think if you look at that team, Randolph and Duffy are the only definite starters. Howerton and Brady are thereabouts, but the other 7 are just either making their way in the game or just happy enough to be in the squad.
Yes, I was just reading today, prize money in Group C drops by €400,000 from an FAI accountancy point of view, so that's not insignificant. Of some of the new faces this evening, just to give people who are kind of Premier League and Champions League types flavour, and I can't say I'm watching all that much League One either myself, by the way. So Ryan Manning, left back, 24 years of age now, came through at Galway, has been at QPR, had some loan spells. He's now at Swansea, so we'll see him this evening. Jason Knight at Derby at the moment, 31 appearances, 19 years of age, Jason Knight, so we'll get a good look at him this evening. Started off at Cabinteely, has played for Ireland at every level coming through from 15s right through to under 21s. Made his debut away to Finland last month. James Collins, obviously, with Luton in the Championship, 30 years old now. And then Ronan Curtis, 24 now, Curtis, playing in League One with Portsmouth, left winger or striker. Born in London, moved to Donegal age 10, came through at Derry City. So we're going to see a different team this evening, Nathan. As you rightly say, this is not the Irish team that will hopefully propel Stephen Kenny to World Cup qualification. We don't quite know what we're getting this evening from Bulgaria, who seem to be in a mess, and their manager seems to be due for the sack tomorrow, and they've been hit with COVID. And equally, this is a team that have never come close to playing together before, and there'll be a few nerves out there as well.
There will, of course, be a few nerves, and this is a Bulgaria team that's in a worse state than Ireland. They're behind Ireland in the table. They've offered little or nothing so far. They're COVID ravaged as well. And this is a game, even with the players missing, I think Ireland should be going and expecting to win. In the game over in Sofia, it was Stephen Kenny's first game in charge. There were plenty of bright spells, yet Ireland were quite open at the back, and they needed that late Shane Duffy equaliser. You would hope that tonight they can get something together. I think there's, in midfield with Howerhan, Brady and Knight, that there's enough there that Ireland should be able to dominate. While Jason Knight is still very young and very inexperienced, he's playing all season long for Derby in the Championship. He's an integral part of that team, and I'd expect Howerhan will be the one who'll just sit, and then all the energy will come from Knight and Brady. And there is an opportunity in that Irish midfield for an emerging talent like Jason Knight. James McCarthy is somebody Stephen Kenny talks about a lot, but just isn't available the vast majority of the time. So I think there's an opportunity for Jason Knight over the next few months to really establish himself and take one of those three spots in what's looking more and more like it will always be a midfield three for Ireland, alongside Jeff Hendrick and maybe Jason Malumbi. Darragh O'Shea playing at right back tonight, played at left back over in Cardiff at the weekend. You expect Darragh O'Shea is going to pick up a lot of caps very quickly because he can play anywhere. Yeah. You could have easily seen him slotting in alongside Shane Duffy at centre half. So he's playing at right back, and he's selected ahead of Cyrus Christie at right back as well. So he could have gone with the more experienced option there, but Darragh O'Shea, I think, didn't do anything wrong the last day, so fully deserves his place. And then of the front three, you don't see if we're anywhere near full strength, those front three aren't really getting near the first 11. And in fact, Daryl Horgan and Ronan Curtis are probably battling for one spot generally in the 23-man squad, and likewise James Collins looks to be a step ahead of Shoney Maguire, who's on the bench, in terms of being the best option if Ida, if Connolly, and probably if Troy Parrott by the time we get to March aren't fully fit. So everybody has a different objective tonight, but the overriding one is to just go and somehow get a goal, because it is long beyond a joke at this stage.
Well, I was listening during the week when Northern Ireland set the new record, and they were singing about how terrible they were at scoring. When the goal finally did come, Jackie Fullerton had the line ready to go. He was prepped. The famine is over, said Fullerton. The famine is over. So
can't believe you blew my cover.
There's a bit of pressure tonight on you, Murphy. This is going to be like when we win the World Cup in a couple of years' time. I think the montage will start with this moment. So no pressure, buddy, but you got to nail the moment when we score.
It'll be an awkward thing when the players are barely celebrating and myself and Stewie are absolutely losing it. The only people in the stadium roaring our heads off.
It's an OG. It's the greatest OG I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Who's going to score then? Who's going to score in this team?
I would say, well, unless there's the usual set piece and Robbie Brady delivers for Shane Duffy, I think that midfield in general is a place where more goals need to come from. Conor Howard's only ever scored one goal for Ireland. He's playing his 24th, winning his 24th cap today, just that free kick against Georgia. So he needs to contribute. Obviously he should have scored that goal in Slovakia, and you still would worry that in 4 or 5 years' time, if the Stephen Kenny era is long over by then, that we could be reflecting on that chance where it all started to go horribly wrong.
Oh, we're still holding that against him.
Robbie Brady, Jason Knight. I think the midfield is an area that's going to have to start delivering a lot of goals for Ireland. Jeff Hendrick, when he returns, there isn't a Robbie Keane, we know that. There's a hope that maybe Troy Parrott, Adam Ida, Aaron Connolly develop into that, and that they can certainly be part of a system that helps create it. And those players need to get to, they need to get to minimum double figures in the next 3-4 years of their career. But an area that hasn't been delivering at all is the midfield. And we saw that against Slovakia. We saw time and time again Enda Stevens getting forward from left back, and when he was there, the midfielders were up alongside him. Jeff Hendrick was up there. He was playing that number 10 role. He was getting in and around the area. So I think those midfielders need to help out. We're talking an awful lot about that number 9 role as if they are going to provide 40, 50 international goals.
No.
It's just not going to happen.
No.
It needs to be shared about. And the more chances you create, the more goals you're going to score. And when Ireland have played well under Stephen Kenny, they have created chances.
Yeah, we need midfielders chipping in with 2, even 3 goals a campaign, and Shane Duffy sticking 1 or 2 in as well. That's how we're going to do it, some of our parts. There's a text in, which has given me great hope, from Seamus. Derby County fan here. Good man, Seamus. Jason Knight's energy and ability is very exciting. He is the nearest to That's right. Roy Keane in a very long time.
I was waiting for he's the nearest to Wes Houlihan or something.
Don't
He's
say
a very
that to me.
I thought Jason Malumbi was the nearest to Roy Keane.
Look, they're all near Roy Keane. Hi, Joe. Would it be not worth our while to put all our eggs in the Patrick Bamford basket? Pick him and play him. Just promise him the moon and the stars, says Jay in Dublin. What could we promise him?
What are the moon and the stars?
We'll give you money under the table? Like, what are we talking here, Jay?
Get you Copper's gold card when they eventually reopen.
What can we offer Patrick Bamford? I think that ship is sailing, if not sailed. It's not like we don't create chances, says Phil. Even the world's great strikers go through dry spells. Unrealistic to expect Ireland to take every chance. Phil, we're looking for one. We're just looking for one.
Well, we're not helped by the fact that everything's chopped and changed, and we haven't had a settled front three. We haven't had seasons of a settled back four even over the course of the last 5-6 games. And allied to what Nathan said there from our midfield, it's not just producing goals that I'd like to see more from the midfield. I'd like to see them actually get forward and break lines more, because that's the one thing that I've noticed about that midfield over the course of the last few games, is that there is a lot of passing in amongst themselves, and there's not necessarily the impulse to break from midfield and try and create something and try and get through the midfield line of the opposition and get through to the defence. Like, that just hasn't been there the past while, and there's been a lot of nice little interplay here and there. There have been chances created, but there's been no gumption about the midfield to actually get forward and try and create a chance themselves.
Nathan, are you at the game?
I am.
I was thinking,
Where did you think I was?
Oh, I thought you might be, so obviously we haven't been able to do Premier League games from...
What are you on about, Joe? I've been in England every Sunday.
Don't break the fourth wall, Joe. Don't break the fourth wall.
But you haven't been quarantining. I mean, what's worse?
That's just his recklessness. That's what the nail is.
It's funny, Joe. I was coming here tonight, and there was that low point of maybe April, May, when there was no sport for a couple of months, and you're thinking, God, what I wouldn't do just to go to any game.
The smell of grass.
Any game. Yet here I am, Joe, and it feels like it's about -10.
Listen.
-10.
That's great, you're at it. That's great, because I was thinking, God, the feed is really, sounds very real tonight. It really sounds like you're at the game.
You think it's now going to be weird not to be able to hear every little kick of the ball perfectly, like we do when we're getting our Premier League feed.
We're not doing fake crowd noise, are we?
No. We're not doing. We're also not doing Stewie's jokes as is tradition when we play Bulgaria.
Let's see how it goes.
Please.
Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. If we're at no goals on 60 minutes, he tells a joke.
So, it is very strange. We've done all 3 home games, and look, the game itself doesn't feel massively different, particularly at this level when it is Nations League. I do think it would be different if, say, for example, Ireland got drawn against Spain or Belgium in their opening qualifier for the World Cup 2020 or 2022, and there's nobody here. Then you would really miss the crowd and the atmosphere. But it's just strange when you rock up. You can drive to the stadium. You're here at 6:30. You can literally park underneath the stadium. Nobody here. Walk straight in. Don't talk to anybody. Don't see anybody. Go to your seat. Do the game, and you're home half an hour later.
Well, listen. Every day I turn on the news now, there's another vaccine. I know numbers are not as low as we would like at the moment heading into Christmas, but hopefully come next year, we're in a much better place. Is the music as loud as it always is? Sorry, that's a question I should really ask you off air. That's just...
No, it doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, it's too loud usually. It doesn't let a natural atmosphere build.
It is at the rugby, I'm going to say, where we were doing a game recently. Will O'Callaghan was at one of the Leinster matches, and it was at full Aviva Stadium level, where you can't hear anything.
Why is it on? That's the thing I've wondered.
So the players have a bit of a buzz. Players have a bit of a buzz.
Really?
Drown out the John Delaney chants outside still.
There's nobody here, but there's 25 stewards just down to our right-hand side, just in case.
Alrighty.
Put that banner away, Nathan.
Nathan, we'll let you go for the time being. Enjoy that fresh air.
I certainly will. I'm putting on another 4 layers now.
Stewie Burns jokes and Nathan Murphy coming to you very, very soon. So let's start the news round, Rich. The news round brought to you in association with Gillette. We don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette made of what matters. Where do you want to take us?
We will start with those comments of Stephen Kenny's that Nathan alluded to there. He says it's not fair to assess his time in charge thus far based on the fractured nature of this Nations League campaign.
I don't think it is at all. To be honest, I don't think you can make any realistic assessment based on. I think our performance against Slovakia showed what we want to do, how we want to play. That was very clear. How the potential that exists. And then the next 2 games we're down nearly 10 players in the games in the next couple of games, and we're fighting a situation where we have to dig out, the morning after Slovakia getting back. We've got corona, COVID positive, and we've got close contacts and 5 are ruled out, and you've got to put out a performance. You've got to get on the bus at 11:30 and play at 2 o'clock. So I think that's been the nature of it, and you can't make any real assessment of it overall. But I do think, I'm encouraged by some of the performances of some of the players, and I think, some players that put themselves into contention. So when the World Cup qualifiers come around, we're not just putting players in for their debut. That they've had a taste of it. They know what it's about, and we know who's ready and we'll know who's ready and who needs more time. And these are important things to learn. When you're building a squad that wants to achieve things, and I think these are important lessons to learn.
I think that's very fair, to be honest. There's a text in: the excuses are pathetic, guys. We're 8-11 favourites for this game. Bulgaria are brutal. We have said all that. Yeah, the fact remains Ireland's preparation, as Stephen Kenny has outlined there, has been horrific. But we have all said there Ireland should still beat this Bulgaria team. So I don't know how closely you were listening. Maybe you're typing furiously instead of listening. But we have said Ireland should win tonight, that's for sure.
On Bulgaria, Joe, where I'm worried about them is that they have actually found a bit of form in the last couple of games. I know you mentioned their manager's probably heading for the sack tomorrow morning, but in the last game against Finland, they were pretty unlucky not to get a point. They had 2 penalties awarded to them, and I know this option wasn't open to us, and Stephen Kenny touched on that in his press conference as well. But their last game was a friendly against Gibraltar, whereby they put in 3 goals. And just got a bit of confidence back in the side, got a bit of, oomph back about them again, and got themselves feeling a little bit better about the world. Whereas, we had that game with England, which made us feel quite the opposite. It would have been Bosnia if not for England. We have to remember that. But again, they kind of come here a little bit more buoyed than I'd imagine we would have been. And I don't think we've been helped by the stuff that maybe Matt Doherty came out with in the press conference last week, saying, we feel embarrassed every time we lose.
I didn't think that was a big issue at all.
You prefer it to be a little bit more self-contained, if I'm being honest.
Maybe.
I don't think he needs. And I don't. If he had a chance to do that press conference again,
it was post-match on the pitch. It wasn't presser.
Post-match. It was presser inside in the. In the bells. Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
I saw him post-match on the pitch. I don't know. I just saw that at time, people were saying, "Oh, does this mean he's unhappy with what Kenny is doing?" I thought that type of analysis was stretching things way too much.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you there. It's just the fact that it ends up being analysed, I don't think is helpful to anybody. It kind of ramps up the pressure on everybody.
That's the media for you, Richie.
That mainstream media, Joe? The lamestream media, I call them.
What does Jack Byrne have to do? I must admit, I wouldn't mind seeing Jack Byrne in this evening either. Maybe his fitness isn't 100% post-COVID. I don't know where he is, but I thought he did well the other evening. I'm just a massive fan of him, and I think he will get a move to England soon. Hopefully he picks the right one. So I wouldn't mind seeing Jack Byrne on for a good chunk of the game this evening, I have to say as well. Where are we going next?
Northern Ireland have been relegated to the second lowest tier of the Nations League even before their final group game tonight. It's after a UEFA panel awarded tonight's opponents Romania a 3-0 win for their fixture against Norway on Sunday. It was called off because of coronavirus travel restrictions. Ian Barclough's side have just 1 point from their 5 matches to date. Now, the rugby, and Ross Byrne has been picked at half for Ireland's Autumn Nations Cup game with England on Saturday. He replaces his injured Leinster teammate Jonathan Sexton. Bundy Aki comes in for the injured Robbie Henshaw in the centre, while Keith Earl starts on the wing in place of Andrew Conway, who drops out of the matchday squad altogether. The only change to the pack from that win over Wales sees CJ Stander replace Josh van der Flaer in the back row. As expected, James Ryan captains the side, and Andy Farrell has been explaining that decision.
Well, I've 100% seen a curiosity in James over the last 9 months of him maturing regarding his leadership's concerned. I think over the last couple of years, everyone's talked about James being a potential leader for this team, a potential captain for this team, and I saw something 9 months ago when we went into the Six Nations, the start of the Six Nations, where he actually started to think probably that while people are talking about me in this vein, maybe I should start doing something about it. And he has 100% come to the fore in his curiousness of how he wants to lead, etc. And I've been super impressed over the last 9 months of how he handles himself first and foremost, and how he interacts and thinks about others as well.
CJ Stander then?
Yeah, he's unimpressed with former Munster director of rugby's view on the Ireland side. The documentary Chasing the Sun captured Rassie Erasmus telling his Springbok players prior to their semi-finals with Wales that Wales were not softies, unlike Ireland. Stander played under Erasmus at Munster and says he'll have a point to prove when next they meet.
Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge, because if that is his view and if that's what he believes, then I would like to not really prove him wrong, but I'd like to show him what we can do, and what we've done before. That is a big statement to make, and he put it out there, so that's his prerogative, that's his thought of us, it's not going to be easy to change his view, but luckily we're not playing against them this weekend. We'll get them. We'll get them at some stage.
Yeah, I guess it turns out Rassie's speaking from a position of strength at the moment, so he can kind of say what he wants. Before you go, give us the Mo Salah news and the Tadhg Furlong news, Rich.
Yeah, Mo Salah is set to miss Liverpool's next 3 matches, we think, at least. His latest coronavirus swab has returned positive and he remains in isolation in Egypt. Salah originally tested positive on international duty last Friday. Liverpool welcome Leicester to Anfield on Sunday before a game with Atalanta in the Champions League. And as you alluded to there, Tadhg Furlong suffered another setback in his recovery from injury. Leinster say the prop isn't progressing like they'd wish with a calf injury and he's going to miss this weekend's game with Cardiff. Kieran Parker requires surgery to a thumb injury sustained in the win over Edinburgh. But Ryan Baird, Sean Cronin and Rory O'Loughlin are all back in contention for this weekend.
Richie McCormack, thanks very much.
Cheers, lads.
We have commentary of Ireland-Bulgaria coming your way next.
The News Round on Off the Ball.
With Gillette, proud supporters of Movember. Gentlemen, let's mow.